scores will shift around because we'll drop the lowest scoring map, and their lowest is only a 10. So it's going to take a sizable game to improve upon it. But even still, they are looking fantastic at the top. And as we look through some of these names on our standings board and head into the gameplay, I got to shout out Omit. I mean, this organization has a ton of high-level Warzone competitors. We all know that. I've mentioned it on broadcast several times. But even at the top of this leaderboard, of course, we've got Sage. We've got Authorized Mayapo in there with Aydan. But shout out Crinks and Ryda. These guys are playing out of their minds right now and at the top of this leaderboard. So I got to shout out those guys over there on Omit. They are killing it right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about them later. Across the board, some of the best that Warzone has to offer, and content creators all the way down to competitors. Very, very strong players.
Incredibly strong and well-deserved. Omit's done so much in the scene and built out an incredible roster of talent, so many of which you are seeing compete in the tournament today. Now, Hisoka on the way up. This is your first place team with a 37-point gap between first place and second place. They had an outstanding map 1, 2 mediocre map 2 and 3s, and then map 4, I think they might have got the first and second place total score amounts goat in their first and fourth maps. They might have contention, I think, from Chrissy's map that they won, but really exemplary from them. Now, Sage is downed. There was a trade that came through, so we'll see if they can get him back up on his feet. But no surprise, they tend to be a little bit more aggressive in the early game, wrap up those eliminations, and then loot themselves toward endgame. Get some shots in, not able to convert it into a down. Trying to find exactly where that player scrambled to. This was back in time, so you can see Sage goes down there. The player follows up. Nice job onto Primrose. Gets another down, and Sage just completely confused as to what this team is doing, why they're doing it, but most importantly, is still alive.
It's just great chemistry, great Overwatch position. Did fantastic to keep Sage alive. That's something you're going to be thinking about later into this map and say, what would have been different if we send Sage to the Gulag that early or potentially lose one other? But they do a fantastic job of wiping a squad with relative ease. They make it look easy. Let's be very clear. That was a difficult fight that they played flawlessly. I think the other team just had no idea that I think that's Hisoka on our screen a second ago was playing that Overwatch position, and because of that, it was able to weaken or clean up nearly every player on that lobby, or in that squad rather.
Let me know.
Swing over to DBZ, destroys tournament, and they were able to take map 1. Haven't been able to find that same success since, but currently in 5th place and really neck and neck with 3rd through 5th. Honestly, it's anyone's game for those placements. Even first isn't secure, depending on what happens, but the comms come through. They know at least one player is nearby. They do have Junior, speaking of Omit, a player that they're going to try and take down, spot him, gets the down, converts it onto Hunt. So might actually find the rest of the team here as well. Could turn it into a full wipe. Nice shots out of clutch, and the comms rapid and fast as they push up the stairs, body stack onto these players, take all of them down. A little bit of trouble here for one, but should be able to get an easy self-revive.
The comms are insane right now. And as I'm listening in, they're calling out bottom, where is he? I don't know. We found him, got him, moved to the next, upstairs, downstairs, left, right, 6 monitors, whatever we're saying right now. It's crazy, Katie, and it's working. This team not only has a ton of chemistry, but they also have a ton of time played together. So this is normal for them. One upstairs, Belt plays it fantastically, working with his teammate, wins the gunfight, and continually throwing plates in. Now, they've lost Xenon, but this is the trio. This is DBZ. I think anybody would trust them with their lives. Continuing to work together, and it's working. Crinks is the player they're looking for. Just shouted out Crinks a moment ago for his competitive skill and prowess, so they got to be careful.
Yes, you can.
Couple nades should be helpful, though.
There's loot in the staircase.
Playing it slow. This is tough. Clutch actually is split, so this might... Yeah, that's what I was worried about. If you're going to split that aggressively, you're going to get caught out in the open most likely without much help from Destroy and Z. Down to 2 now.
Down to 2. You do have Gulag, though. I don't think Xenon was able to win his. Clutch hopefully will be able to get back on his own with an elimination under his belt. But Zlaner, that constant threat from this team. About 18 seconds left on that bounty to show where they are. Could get some much needed cash, but those players, they're coming in from the roof, the first floor. They are breaking through every area in this building to try and get Zlaner. 5 seconds remaining on that little mini bounty UAV for him, and the shots just from every direction. Can't seem to get a minute to breathe. Destroy falls. Zlaner all on his own, trying to get out alive, but this is gonna be an impossible situation. If Zlaner at least survives this, I will be incredibly impressed. He is surrounded, streaks left and right, players coming through, jumps out to the first floor, tries to use those smokes to get away, but simply not enough room to make the play. Empty with the final kill, but all of them heading to the gulag, so chance for them to have a pretty solid regain.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, as if I'm Zlaner, I don't think there's anything you could really do differently. I'm not sure why Clutch tried to take a different location on the map, go to the gas station, maybe looking for some cash to maybe buy back their fourth. I'm not positive, but ultimately that's what sold it. And Empathy Trick, shout out to Empathy and team for playing that very well. Once they saw that they had an open position and took down Destroy, pretty much all she wrote. They played the aggressive stance, which is what you have to do. Sometimes you want to play passively, but if you have an advantage by grabbing a knock, you've got to full send. So they're going to go try to reset, go through the gulag, regain. We know teams can do it, Katie. We've seen it a number of times. Even the team on your screen has done it several times. The team in first by somewhere around the neighborhood of like almost 30 points in first. So definitely regain, slow your pace back down, and then try to find some elims and, you know, nearing into the late game. But Soka's got the cam back on, ready to rock and roll. And only one elim thus far, still looting up. They're trying to grab their loadout after probably going down earlier. Usually have their loadout by now, or at least close to it. And I think they're going to maybe try to complete a stronghold to do so. We'll see.
We'll see indeed. And they're at a point right now that they have such a large gap between first and second, 37 points, that you don't need incredible games for maps 5 and 6. You don't want to have bad games or mediocre games, but if you can get high teens or into the 20s in your point total, you're sitting in a really good position to be able to hold on to first through the entirety of the tournament, which is a testament to their dominance on its own, if they can make that happen. We swing back over to Sage, does have 2 eliminations, 3 between the pair. Not sure on the total for the quad, but they've got the money, they're all alive and well, and that's honestly as much as you could ask for this early on into the game, considering not a single team has been fully eliminated yet.
Yeah, and look, Katie, I'm a man of my word, so if the team in first doesn't win, I somehow have to eat a shoe. And I think there's certain brands of shoes that are edible, so I'll make it happen.
Yeah, you eat a Croc. You can eat Crocs.
Yeah, look, I'm pretty confident in my decision is what I mean by that. And I will eat a shoe if they don't win, because I truly believe that they are nearly unbeatable in customs if they're playing at a decent amount of velocity, and that's what they've been doing. They've been playing aggressive. If they slow their pace down and try to play a different play style than they're used to, that's where they're going to lose. They just do what works, which is play aggressive. So I'm excited to see if maybe anybody can catch up, and maybe I will have to issue on next broadcast. Who knows? But I'm not thinking that's going to be the case. Chrissy on screen now with black site open. They know somebody's going for it to grab some advanced loot. But Junior is continuing to go to town here in the lobby, picking up elimination after elimination. Unfortunately, gets traded out, though, and likely will lose his life.
This is your second place team at 78 points. Not a comfortable second place because, well, Swagg's team and Picnic's tied in third and fourth at 73, so just about 5 points behind you, hot on your heels. But they've done a really good job so far of solidifying their place in the top 5, and it's been fun to watch how they've been playing as well. Now, they do need to get Junior back, looking for the money to be able to do that, but there's not too many players. Those rounds should hopefully be easy for them to do. I think we saw Spartan's team there doing one of those strongholds, but a lot of pings, a lot of comms as they just mosey around trying to get their teammate back. Not a lot of action, so we swing over to Aydan, a player who is certainly not afraid to jump right into the messy middle of every single gunfight. But sitting in about 7th right now, Goj, and in striking distance very easily to get anywhere from 7th up to 2nd.
Yeah, a lot of money can change hands there in the final moments of this game. I think it's worth remembering and kind of reminding everybody, and I'll say this several times throughout the rest of the broadcast, is that the math for this is going to be really interesting because you have to remember, yes, the team in first is out as a 37-point lead, but you have to calculate in the lowest scoring game, which means they're not going to be able to improve that score by some massive amount unless they drop another banger of a map, like 20-plus point map. You'll see that score increase. If they drop another 10, 11, 12, 13, their points are only going up by 2 or 3, right? Rather than some of these other teams that maybe are improving upon a 0 or a 1 or a 2, they drop a 15, their score goes up by 14 or 13, right? So still a lot of math, but a 37-point lead still feels fantastic. And all you're hoping for is that nobody drops one of the 2 highest scoring games of the day. And I went back and looked, and you're right. Sage's team has dropped a 49, I believe, in the first map, and then it was a 38 in the last map that we just watched. Chrissy's team has the 3rd highest score with 37. So they have 1, 2, and then Chrissy's team has the 3rd highest scoring. And basically every team's going to need one of those in order to try to supplant the team at the top.
Aiden, nice call-outs here. Great use of the recon drone, especially for Adrian, knowing that there's that many players underneath. That's why something like a recon, to get that intel, can truly be invaluable to allow the other players on your team to close in on those positions. Aiden waiting, spots one down, pings it. Adrian maybe a little bit late on the cross, not able to get too many shots in. But Aiden still calling him out, trying to tag who he can as they look to regroup. Adrian gets some shots in, but no downs just yet.
Great callouts. I'm telling you, those recon drones are so valuable. Aiden playing with 3 omit players, Adrian to Otter to Mayapo, just to show the wide range of content creators and competitors they have.
Where is he?
Aiden has recognized it, as we all have. Adrian is a player that's really broken out inside of the customs, especially the Twitter tourneys. He's found a lot of success as a great player inside of these customs. Of course, fantastic in 2v2s as well, but playing with imbags, as it were, with Mayapo and Otter Eyes. But Aiden's looking for one, has been kind of playing the information gatherer for a little while, and now he's going to have to relocate and maybe go for the buy. The thing I'm always worried about, Katie, with customs is there's always people at the buy. That's just kind of the nature of the game. So this is scary. Goes for it. Throwing live pings out to try to grab somebody through the smoke and doesn't get it. So 2 buys through and nobody's shooting back. Luckily, finds both. And I think it is luckily. That was kind of a risk, and they knew it, but paid off.
I'm gonna play the buy first.
Yeah, paid off. Sometimes that risky play, your only option among many risky plays. And we talk again so much about how pivotal smokes are. So crucial to any player's loadout to be able to make plays like what we just saw from Aiden. But right
There
into
it
the
is.
water, it's no boost Spartan. But hey, you're able to get the buyback. And if Aiden does fully go down here, doesn't have much cash that he'll be losing in the process.
He's running back to orange.
Yeah, could see maybe a trade from Mayapo, but Aiden was so separated because he was going for the buys that there's not much his teammates are able to do. So nobody grabs an easy kill. A little late to the buy. That's something that you would have liked to see, but the signal flare of the buyback of his 2 teammats showed Nobu exactly where Aiden was, and Nobu took advantage of it. Now, the team on your screen, finally, get a chance to see Swagg. It's the team that won, the last couple maps. They've been doing a fantastic job, but the last map in particular, they won it and catapulted them all the way up from somewhere around like 12th place or so to 3rd, and they're tied for 3rd with Picnic Basket, and they're only a point or 2, couple points behind Team Chrissy, so they're right there in it. And especially if they drop another banger, it could even be kind of hot on the heels of the team in first. But they're in a great spot, and this is a team, honestly, that we didn't shout out enough. You've got Ev, you've got Booyah, you've got Doozy. I believe Queen Bree is colors, by the way. If I remember correctly, I could hear his voice coming through, so that is right. That was the player that actually, we saw first, and we were like, who is that again? Yeah, that's Colors, one of the most prolific Warzone players in the scene since early Verdansk. So this is a team to watch out for, and a team we should have called out even more at the beginning of the broadcast, and they're kind of proving us wrong almost for not even saying anything about them. Comms. These are long shots, Katie, with this hemlock, but
That's tough, but getting it done, able to get some shots in, not anything substantial enough to convert into a down, maybe give them the numbers advantage. At the same time, Booyah will fall. I don't think has that self-revive to get back up. But maybe that push they can punish. Although Swagg getting peppered through those wall bangs right through that door, trying to get good eyes on someone, but these smokes proving to be so pesky. Spots one right below, but has to back off. Multiple players taking shots, and Swagg does have to back off. Booyah able to get picked back up. Huge for them to not go full man down in this fight.
And that's Aydan, by the way, that took down Booyah originally and then got cleaned up by Super Evans. So Aydan got revived back into it. Likely you're going to see Imbags down below with their third. And the Omit crew should be rolling up on Swagg's team in a moment. Now, both teams are on the very edge of this circle, so stay tuned. Restock comes through, which means there's going to be a lot of boxes to re-loot. It's going to make regains a bit easier to find at least something to work with. Looks like they cleaned up Adrian, so I don't think it's a full team wipe, Katie, but still a nice win against a very strong squad. It's all fighting for the same positions here inside the top 5 as we're into the second to last map of Destroys Drops. Now, we've got a split zone currently, so this is going to change the flow of the game a little bit. The second split zone that we've seen thus far. And as we take a look at it, given that they're on the edge, this is actually kind of best case scenario for them. If they were on the edge on a single zone, I think they'd be in trouble. With the split zones, there could be a team, setting up early, but likely it'll only be one, maybe at most 2 teams rather than potentially 4 or 5, since there's 18 left.
Yeah, and an ammo box, something that'll be useful to them. They don't have a ton of cash spread throughout the majority of the players. I think it's Super Evan who's going to have that 12K, which does always run you the risk of if he goes down, well, you don't potentially have cash to buy anyone at all. At the same time, Super Evan would be able to purchase the entire team if he needed to. But there you go. This is where it gets tricky because this is a lot of open air for you to be covering. A lot of open field, no shots just yet. If they can cover this gap safely, that'll be a huge moment for this team because anyone in the vicinity, that's free shots onto this team if you spot them out over the river. So it looks like for the time being able to make it safely, should be able to get into the zone, but they've spotted at least one team.
Yeah, I held my breath during that entire flight over. That was sketchy, but again, because it was a split zone, it also gives them a bit of information. You know there's a sizable amount of teams inside the other split zone. It doesn't split totally randomly. It splits on what would be a decent chunk of other squads that could be in the area. So you know there's going to be some teams across the entirety of the final rest of this map on the other side. So likely your rotation will be a bit more uncontested than maybe they once thought. So they get to the edge of zone fairly easily without any sort of contest. Got a bit of information. Now they're talking about where do we go from here. They spotted one, but this should get them up to the edge. I think they go up to the building. I don't mind the water wrap here if they want to go all the way around, but I don't know. We have a bit more information than they do, I would say, just because we'd be able to swap around perspectives. They do go. They're just going to go this direction rather than out in the open. Probably a smarter rotation. They make it to the building all fine and good. Likely, most of the other teams are on the other side of the split going into the new circle.
Well, this is where you got to be careful, too. We've seen the circle funnel into this exact same area before in this tournament, and you always have to be mindful of the million entries and exits and all the different places that you can be shot from. And, well, another team getting eliminated there, I believe in about 16th, 15 teams remaining as we swing back over to DBZ. Zlaner has 3 eliminations, but won't be able to get to Xenon to save the day. And, well, the team in a bit of a tricky position here, but at least 3 still alive as we swing over to Xenon. This is going to be the POV where he gets taken down here momentarily.
Yeah, and what we're about to see is, yet again, it's OP Mark Squad just finding a player out in the open by themselves, destroying them, and then immediately PAing them to make sure they don't get back up. That's one way to secure those kills and secure those eliminations, and it's a great strategy. So as we swap the different POVs on this team, they're all at different kind of points in time in the same fight. Getting some call-outs, and Clutch says, of course they're already here because, well, we're talking about Yeet, we're talking about OP Mark, Stellar moves. This is a team that oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes will play for wins and wins alone, so they're always trying to take god spots. It's a hyper strategic move, and it usually works out, especially in pubs. Even in customs, though, Katie. I mean, I've seen them near tops of leaderboards when there's placement points available. But with the placement points that are available in this tourney, which is fairly limited, only 10 for first, likely they're not going to see themselves near the top of this leaderboard. But I'm, arms wide open and welcoming for them to prove me wrong.
Clutch now just taking their time, just trying to move building to building methodically, mindful of every single area around them. Could be hiding a team, could be hiding an OP marked. Gotta be careful. Make sure that you don't get flanked. It looks like Clutch just not fully comfortable on that yet. Walks back over to try and see where exactly these players are. Because we're still at those 15 teams. Plenty of people left in this lobby right now, 40-something, as we have about 15 seconds left on the circle close. We'll see where this player is. Clutch, I think, just looking to gather that information, make sure that their flank is secured, or maybe an easy pickup on a kill for them if they catch a late rotation.
Yeah, you might be asking yourself, if you don't watch a lot of customs, like, why are they playing so slow? Why wouldn't they just fly at teams and try to find a few limbs? Well, first, they've got a team holding down the rooftops next to them with snipers. One sniper, to be very clear, because there's only one allowed. But they also have a high ground position inside of zone. There's still 40-some-odd players still in the lobby that Katie called out. And as such, you're going to find eliminations if you play for the win. So at this point, you can slow it down and then find opportune moments to grab an elimination. And that's what Clutch is doing right now. So finds one out in the open, looks for the kill. It's hard to kill through the water, especially when you can't see them. Clutch is going to keep pushing, but he's got to be careful because you know, Katie, there's another team across the pond, as it were. Maybe in EU, maybe not, but across the pond proper, right in front of him.
Yeah, right in front of him. Another shot gets called out. So difficult to get players in the water finally able to do so. And it's a team wipe on the FIFA kill. So they will be down and out. Another team with a very impressive lineup that just hasn't been able to string together a really strong game just yet. Able to get shots, as you said, that team across the way. So not FIFA's team, whoever was trying to take them out. But those are those singular eliminations we talked about in a custom that can be so very easy to get, especially if you're coordinating those team shots with the rest of your squad. We swing over to Booyah. Great to see back in a tournament. This team winning the prior map, sitting in 4th place, tied 4th, 5th with Breadman's team at 73 points. Trying to continue to improve on those scores, but you got to be careful. Booyah tagged up multiple times, rips the armor off, has to scramble back inside, and, well, uses all of his plates in the process.
Well, it might be worth mentioning, too, they were originally in 3rd, tied for 3rd with Picnic Basket. And as such, if they're now in 4th or 5th, that means the team that jumped them, which I think is Huskerrs squad, is probably dead in this lobby and already reported their scores. And as such, has already been reported on our spreadsheet. So likely Huskerrs team falls early, and you're going to see Booyah squad. Their scores are going to come in later on our score sheet and punch them back up to 3rd, maybe even pushing for 2nd. If they can continue their success. And so far, so good. They look great. They've got a sizable amount of cash, plenty of plates, looking for the first aids, maybe a couple self-revives. You need one on the side of Booyah at the very least. But a great spot. They are going to have to rotate. And now, Katie, I got to shout this out. This is the exact same circle we just had, to be very clear. I mean, identical. You've got this same kind of center ground high position. This is where Sage's team was fighting for earlier. Well, seemingly not there this time around, playing edge of zone and finding success. Sage is on 7. We went from a setup position. All of a sudden, we're in the midst of the action. Look how many red dots are around Sage right now. Is team already in circle? No, flying back in, maybe? They're getting caught out in the open. They're both gone. It's Biffle and Sage.
Biffle and Sage fighting to stay alive, and you're going to have to cover a very painful distance to get there. You've got players above you. You've got players in front of you. Sage opting to eliminate at least one of those problems or look for an angle to do so. Hiding in the bathroom, plating up, just waiting for a moment. If he jumps off the top rope, that's exactly what he does. Sage able to get the down, but gets traded out in the process. Will go to the storm, but might get that elimination on top of it. And look at that, though. We swing back over. Destroy with 9 eliminations. Could be another huge map for them outside of what we saw in map 1. Could very well propel them back up into the top 3. A huge moment here if they can capitalize on it, especially having 3 alive. This is huge.
Yeah, a massive map for DBZ rather, as Xenon's down, but DBZ all 3 up, and they're on the opposite side of the river, so they need a favorable zone pull here, and we'll see if they get it. No, nearly identical pull, except this time in the final 7 circle, it was pushed back to that central location on the edge of the water, the peninsula, if you can call it that. But DBZ is going to feel comfortable here. They'd like to clean up this side of the river, and then go swimming and get to the other side, as there's 8 teams left, and they've got a great lobby going. They needed it. This was coming in the nick of time to have a chance inside the top 3. They started falling off after their first map win, and here's an opportunity to really punch up this leaderboard. The question is, where is Sage's team, and are they still alive, or is it FaZe Doozy on the other side cleaning them up? Likely seeing some of the teams inside the top 5 still battle get out. Here's Z down below. Little bit ahead in time and in trouble. Smokes, grenades after grenades. Some self-revives might keep them up, but it's just Clutch Belk, last alive. We'll see it from behind the scenes just a moment ago. All of these POVs, slightly different timings.
Slightly different timings. Clutch at this point, if you end up being last alive, which should happen as we're a bit delayed on the stream, can you get those placement points, take those safe kills, or simply survive as long as possible in the chaos we are in right now? Gets a down onto Swagg, a big down to be able to find. Clutch backs up. Yeah, able to get at least that moment to run away. Does have the plates to work with, but gets down and simply just too difficult of a spot to be in. Will miss out on the 5 points for 3rd through 5th. So we swing over now. Booyah, still alive. The rest of this team, I think, we're rewatching this fight about 3 different times, 3 different angles here. Super Evan will fall, but the remainder of the team alive and flush with cash. Oh my gosh, look at how much they have.
Okay, now we've pushed back across the map, and then again, this is exactly what happened last time, Ray. You have the river, you have these kind of edge circle buildings that some teams are already at. You've cleaned out your side of the map, so you're feeling great, but you're not done yet. Job's not even close to being done. We still have 4 teams. You have the best player advantage, seemingly, according to our players. We got 8 on 4, so you're above the average. You're looking good, especially when it's, I think that is Colors on the other side, cleaning up another, or at least close to doing so. Booyah down below. There's another team wipe. That's a solo. That's Moonride trying to grab another victory. And now it's a 3v2. Now, on the other side, if I had to guess, I want to say this is OP Mark Squad unless they got wiped. Up above, in trouble. Yes, it's Stellar Moves. It's OP Mark. Yeet. They've got the high ground, but as the screams come through, Swagg's team wins it again. Katie, we didn't get a chance to see the final shots come through, but perfect team wipe and a back-to-back win. You'd love to see it from Doozy and Co.
That's going to be huge. 33. That's going to go ahead and I think potentially propel Swagg's team into 2nd place. Maybe the 2nd team to break the 100-point total. The only other team able to do that being Sages. I'm not sure how far they managed to make it in that end. We know they ran into some trouble, but Swagg's team